One day, you stop counting how many years are behind you, and you start counting how much peace you still have left. That is when life becomes very clear. You realize time is no longer the biggest thing you own. Energy is. Calm is. Silence is. A soft morning, an untroubled meal, a night without emotional weight on your chest. These become precious in a way younger people rarely understand. And that is why one of the hardest lessons of old age is this. Not everyone who is close to you is good for you. Some people share your blood, your history, your last name, your memories, your holidays, your photographs, your stories. But even with all of that, their presence can still slowly damage your peace. They may not hit you. They may not openly insult you. They may not even look cruel from the outside. But every time they enter your day, they leave dust in your mind. They leave noise in your heart. They leave you more tired than before. And in this stage of life, that cost is too high. Old age is not the season for unnecessary battles. It is not the season for carrying other people's chaos just because you have done it for years. It is not the season for pretending you are fine after every painful visit, every manipulative phone call, every conversation that steals your joy and gives you nothing back. There comes a point when protecting your peace is not selfish. It is wise. It is overdue. The first kind of person to stay away from is the one who drains the life out of every moment. You know this person. Before they even arrive, your body feels it. Your shoulders tighten. Your breathing changes. You prepare yourself without even knowing you are preparing. And when they finally leave, the whole room feels lighter. They may talk too much, complain too much, criticize too much, or make everything about what is wrong. With them, every conversation becomes heavy. Every topic turns dark. Every good moment is pulled down by their constant negativity. They do not come with rest. They come with weight. The dangerous part is that you may have known them for decades. You may have gotten used to feeling tired around them, so you stopped calling it harm. You started calling it family. You started calling it normal. But normal does not mean healthy. Familiar does not mean safe. If someone leaves you emotionally empty again and again, that is not a small thing. In younger years, you might recover faster. In old age, recovery takes longer. The mind needs gentleness. The heart needs room. If a person keeps taking that from you, love alone is not a good enough reason to keep giving them full access. Then there is the person who always arrives with a fire in their hands. Nothing in their life is ever calm for long. There is always a fresh problem, a new enemy, a sudden emergency, another dramatic story that requires your full emotional attention. They pull you into arguments that are not yours. They drag you into conflicts you did not create. They make you feel responsible for fixing disasters they keep repeating. And somehow, even when the mess clearly began with their choices, the pressure lands on you. These people are exhausting because they do not just have problems. They live inside a pattern of disorder. They need tension the way some people need air. If life gets quiet, they stir it again. If one storm ends, another begins. And because you are older, calmer, and often more patient, they see you as a safe place to unload everything. But being someone's shelter is not the same as becoming their emergency room every week. You are not here to spend your remaining good years putting out fires in lives that refuse peace. Compassion does not mean volunteering your nervous system for another person's chaos. Sometimes the kindest thing you can say is, I care about you, but I cannot carry this with you. Another person to keep your distance from is the one who makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. This person rarely asks directly. They press on your heart instead. They know your soft spots. They know which old memories to touch, which sacrifices to mention, which silences to use, which lines make you feel like a bad parent, a bad sibling, a bad relative, a bad human being. They may say things like, after all we have been through, or I guess I know where I stand now, or you have changed. And what they really mean is this: do what I want, or I will punish you with guilt. That kind of emotional control is especially powerful in later life because older people often carry deep loyalty. You remember who was there in the hard years. You remember who suffered. You remember who helped. And because you remember so much, you are easier to trap. But gratitude and obedience are not the same thing. History is not a weapon that should be used against you. Love that demands your peace as payment is not healthy love. If someone only feels close to you when you are surrendering your needs, they are not protecting the relationship. They are protecting their power inside it. You must also be careful with the person who sees your kindness as a resource to use. This person calls when they need something, not when they want to know how you are. Their voice becomes warm when they need money, help, a place to stay, a ride, a favor, access, support, advice, or rescue. And because you have a generous heart, because you have spent years helping others, because saying no still feels uncomfortable, you often give. You give time, you give energy, you give money, you give emotional labor, you give again and again. And one day you realize something painful. They know how to reach your hand, but they do not know how to hold it. This is one of the loneliest realizations in old age. To see that some people never truly came for you. They came for what you could provide. Your reliability became your trap. Your loyalty became their convenience. And the saddest part is that many older people excuse this for too long because they are afraid of conflict, afraid of being called selfish, afraid of losing connection. But a relationship where only one person pours and the other only collects is not connection. It is quiet exploitation. You are not required to keep serving people who disappear the moment your own need begins. There is another type who can do real damage, and this one often hides behind concern. It is the person who speaks to you as if your life is already over. They may sound practical, even caring, but everything they say makes your world smaller. If you want to learn something new, they laugh. If you want to travel, they warn. If you want to start a hobby, wear a color, join a group, move house, write your story, fall in love with life again, deepen your faith, protect your routine, or change something at 70 or 80. They act as if hope has become inappropriate for your age. They reduce your future to medication, caution, and waiting. Stay away from people who make you feel like your remaining years are only meant to be endured. A person can grow at 60. A person can heal at 70. A person can become more alive at 80 than they were at 50. But that inner life needs air. It needs encouragement. It needs room. If someone keeps speaking over your spirit with doubt, limitation, and fear, their words will slowly settle inside you. And once that happens, you do not just lose confidence, you lose possibility. The old body may move slower, but the human spirit does not need permission from age to keep expanding. Anyone who constantly mocks that truth is too expensive to keep close. Then there is the person who keeps reopening old wounds. With them, the past never stays in the past. Every visit becomes a return to some old injury, some old failure, some old family role, some old mistake that should have been buried long ago. They do not let you be who you are now. They keep speaking to the younger version of you, the weaker version of you, the guilty version of you, the version that was easier to control. They remind you of what you did wrong 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They bring up shame like it is a family tradition. This kind of relationship is dangerous because it can erase growth. You may have spent years becoming calmer, wiser, softer, more self-aware. Yet 1 hour with them, and suddenly you are not the person you have become. You are the old self again, defensive, small, confused, angry, guilty, or desperate to be understood. That is not healing. That is regression. A relationship that repeatedly drags you back into an older, wounded identity is not honoring your history. It is imprisoning you inside it. At this age, you do not need people who keep your scars fresh. You need people who respect the life you built after the pain. You should also be careful with the one who carries poison from house to house. This person thrives on gossip, comparison, suspicion, and quiet division. They always know what someone said. They always have a private warning. They always bring you a troubling piece of information that disturbs your peace and changes the way you look at others. They speak softly, but the effect of their words is sharp. Families often suffer because of one person like this. They create distance between siblings, tension between parents and children, mistrust between relatives, and then stand back as if they only told the truth. Old age should be a time of simplification, not contamination. Your heart does not need new bitterness every week. Your mind does not need to be filled with rumors, hidden agendas, and second-hand resentment. Some people seem close because they keep you informed, but all they really do is keep you agitated. They do not bring clarity. They bring emotional pollution. And once you see that pattern, it becomes easier to understand why you always feel restless after speaking to them. Peace cannot grow in a mind that is constantly being fed other people's dirt. If someone's main talent is spreading emotional poison, distance is not rude. It is clean living. And finally, stay away from the person who cannot stand your peace. This may be the hardest one to recognize, because outwardly they may seem fine. They may smile. They may show up. They may say the right things. But every time you become more centered, more grounded, more joyful, more prayerful, more content, more private, more self-respecting, they subtly resist it. They tease your calm. They interrupt your routines. They mock what helps you heal. They are comfortable with your pain, but uncomfortable with your balance. Why? Because your peace changes the relationship. It means you are no longer easy to provoke, easy to use, easy to guilt, easy to pull back into old patterns. Not everyone celebrates your healing. Some people preferred the version of you that was always available, always rescuing, always doubting yourself, always craving approval. When you begin to protect your energy, they call you distant. When you stop explaining yourself, they call you cold. When you become harder to manipulate, they call you changed. But sometimes changed is exactly what saved you. Sometimes peace is the most threatening thing you can show to a person who benefited from your confusion. That is why you must guard it carefully. Not with anger, not with revenge, just with clear eyes and a steady heart. And now here is the truth many people avoid saying out loud. Some of these people may be your own relatives. A son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, an in-law, a lifelong friend who became family. The title does not remove the damage. Blood does not cancel the effect. Shared history does not turn harmful behavior into something harmless. It only makes the decision more painful. But pain is not always a sign that you are doing the wrong thing. Sometimes pain is simply the cost of finally telling the truth. The truth that your peace matters. The truth that your remaining years should not be spent recovering from people who refuse to grow. The truth that distance can be an act of wisdom. The truth that love does not require daily access. The truth that you can pray for someone, wish them well, care about them deeply, and still refuse to let them keep injuring your spirit. You do not need a dramatic ending with every difficult person. Not every boundary needs a speech. Sometimes the strongest move is quiet. Fewer calls. Shorter visits. Less explaining. Less availability. More protection around your mornings, your evenings, your health, your money, your routines, your inner life. Sometimes peace returns not because the world changed, but because you finally changed who could enter your world. If you are in the later years of life, hear this clearly. You have already carried enough. You have bent enough. You have tolerated enough. You have given enough chances. You do not need to spend the last meaningful chapter of your life proving that you are loving by allowing yourself to be repeatedly wounded. Real wisdom is knowing when closeness nourishes you and when it quietly destroys you. Real maturity is understanding that boundaries are not walls against love. They are doors with locks, and you are allowed to decide who gets a key. One day, all of us will leave this world. Before that day comes, you deserve some peace. You deserve conversations that do not exhaust you. You deserve relationships that do not punish your honesty. You deserve respect that does not disappear when you say no. You deserve the dignity of a life that feels lighter, cleaner, and more truthful. So look carefully at the people around you, not at their titles, not at their excuses, not at the role they have always played. Look at their effect. Who calms your spirit? Who disturbs it? Who leaves you stronger? Who leaves you hollow? That answer will tell you more than family labels ever could. In old age, the greatest wealth is not what you saved in the bank. It is the peace you saved inside yourself. Protect that peace. Protect it from noise disguised as closeness. Protect it from guilt disguised as love. Protect it from chaos disguised as need. Protect it from poison disguised as honesty. Protect it from control disguised as concern. And if that means stepping back from certain people, even familiar people, even related people, then step back without shame. Because the final chapter of your life should not be crowded with those who keep stealing your calm. It should be filled with breath, clarity, dignity, and the kind of quiet that feels like freedom.